Hi, welcome to Sneakers How To. I'm your host Helena, and this is the Nike Do-It-Yourself Kit powered by Rit intermediate tutorial. This is the Nike Do-It-Yourself Kit, and here's what's inside. We have a crew neck that's 80% cotton, some gloves and rubber bands, Rit powder dyes in Kelly green and purple, an instruction pamphlet, and some cool patches. And you'll also need a baking rack and a plastic container to catch the dye, some scissors or box cutter, paper towels, and an iron. And last but not least, you'll need ice. If you're dyeing something that has a screen print over it, the cool thing is that our all-purpose only works on cotton, rayon, linen, natural fibers, so it won't penetrate those areas, and it'll kind of do a natural resist along the screen print. You want to wring it out really good, just so that it's just damp to the touch. You're gonna lay it flat on a clean surface, and to the body of the crew neck, we're just going to scrunch it up randomly, and this kind of creates irregular patterning that you kind of see in traditional tie-dye. And then for the arms, we're gonna do a little pleating action here. So all you're gonna do is fold the arms back and forth, and what this will do is create stripes along the sleeve to kind of differentiate from the body. So when we apply the dyes, it'll go through here, and then the bottoms will kind of stay white. And then you're gonna put it on top of your setup here. And then we're gonna create a DIY collar from the cardboard box that this came in. So this helps to keep the ice in place. You're gonna separate the sleeve area that you just pleated from the scrunched body. This way, when you're dyeing, it doesn't mix it up, and it keeps them separate because we'll be kind of using different methods to dye these two sections, so you want to keep them separate. Now we are ready to ice dye. Unlike regular dyeing, ice dye uses ice, and it carries the pigments from the powder dye into those folds that you created, creating this cool watercolor effect. This time we're going to put the ice over the center, like so. And then hold off on the sleeve, because for the sleeve we'll put the ice over the dye. I'll show you in a minute. For the middle here, you're just going to sprinkle the dye. And then for the arms, you're gonna apply the powder underneath the ice, so directly onto the fabric. And once this is all melted through, you can just dump it right into the sink. Rit dye is non-toxic and septic safe, so disposal is really easy. You want to carefully place ice on top of it, and make sure not to disturb the powder dye that's already on there, because that's kind of what's going to create the patterning. Now that the ice has melted all the way through, we're going to rinse with the collar on, just so that it retains its shape, so that none of the dyes get into any areas that you don't want it to be in. We're also using very cold water. This will help the dyes to not set into any of those other areas. And you want to rinse it until the rinse water runs clear. Once you're done rinsing, you can just throw it into the dryer with an old towel. That kind of helps the process along, and you're all done. And here we go. Look at the sleeves. That's what you get from the pleating that we did earlier. You can kind of see the patterning that it created. And I already went ahead and dyed and ironed on some patches, and I'll show you how to do that in just a sec. To dye the patches, all you have to do is put about a teaspoon or tablespoon of powder dye and hot water into glass jars or some type of container. Do a little dip. And I'm gonna do a little half and half dip dye here, so I'm only gonna put in half of it, flip her over, and dip the other portion into the green dye bath. The longer you keep it in there, the more color it'll take, so if you want it darker, you can kind of keep it in there for longer, but if you want it lighter, you can just kind of do a quick dip. If you ended up with too much green, all you have to do is dip it back into the purple. And there you have it, a little dip dyed patch. To secure your patch, just decide where you want to put it. I think that looks good right there. And you're going to take your iron and place it over the patch for 15 to 30 seconds. This helps to melt the adhesive that's behind the patch to secure it onto your fabric. If you want a more secure attachment, you can also sew with a needle and thread, do a little back stitch, and if you have a sewing machine, you could use a zigzag stitch to secure it on as well. And remember to clean up after yourself. A little bit of diluted bleach will do the trick. And you just did it. Thank you for joining us here at the Rit Test Kitchen for the Nike Do-It-Yourself Kit powered by Rit intermediate tutorial.